goggles on because of Ru's fabulous hairdo during the judging and everything. Hey everybody, it's me, Wilma Fingerdoo, with the Fingerdoo review of RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars 6 episode 11. And before we get started, I just want to thank some tipper dudes. Vito Bocuzzi, who dropped by again. I love you, Vito. And Steffi Powell for her tipper dude. Thanks, Steffi. Seriously. I also want to send a great big you're welcome to Elaine Aiden, who thanked me for making her giggle. It's my pleasure, Elaine, especially because I think giggling is becoming a dying art. Seriously. I've also got a couple of Redbubble models this week. Eric Cool is a triple threat in his belated birthday gift of three, count them, three Wilma Fingerdoo tees. Wear them well, Eric, seriously, and happy belated is all I'm saying. And look at that, our youngest Redbubble model to date. This is Miss Autumn Rose sporting a Wilma Fingerdoo onesie. How cute is she? By the way, the Fingerdoo onesie is my finishing move. I'm just saying. I'd also like to welcome my newest member of the Fingerdoo family on Patreon, Jennifer Hong. Welcome, Jennifer, and thanks for the support. I'm so serious. If you'd like to leave a tipper due, become a Redbubble model by buying some Redbubble merch, or join me on Patreon, the links are all down below in the description box. And while you're down there, why not like this video by giving it a thumbs up? And if you haven't yet, subscribe to my channel, because seriously, those two acts are the best way you can support this channel. Seriously. Now, I also want to send a shout out to Faith Ruckdeshell on YouTube, whose husband and love of her life for 25 years was in a car accident recently. Even though his car was destroyed, Faith's husband survived the whole ordeal, I'm happy to say. Keep me posted, Faith, and I'm sending both of you all my love. Seriously. And finally, a shout out to my longtime YouTube friend Dixie Ray, who was just released from hospital after suffering an unexpected heart attack. Sweet beats, Dix. I hope you have a speedy and fabulous recovery at home with your fur buddy. Oddly enough, fur buddy was also my drag queen name in high school. Now, Jorge, drink me. Ooh, look at this. What is this? Oh, pomegranate antioxidants, is that right? And what? Gin. Well, if that doesn't keep you honest, nothing will. Delish. Now, let's get to it. Well, we picked up almost where we left off last week. The top four queens were gagging to know who had won the last lip sync when their TV feed was cut off. Hell, I was still gagging. So, I was very happy to see the results of the game within a game right away. No waiting. I love that. The winner was Eureka, but I still say the star of that show was six-time winner Silky Nutmeg Ganache. So, here's to Miss Silky performing the house down boots and giving all those haters something to think about. Seriously. As for the top four, it wasn't until the next day that they got the news. Although, just before Ru popped in to give them the good news, Trinity was still working herself into a lather at the thought of a queen coming back and possibly kicking one of them out. Personally, I feel like Trinity was manifesting some bad juju by fretting up a storm. But then, she wouldn't be Trinity if she didn't. Just saying. At least they didn't have to wait long, because there was Ru to announce that Eureka was the winner returning to the race. I still couldn't tell if anyone was happy or sad that she'd dethroned Silky, but I'm sure they weren't all thrilled. They didn't have long to ponder the situation because Ru wasted no time in announcing today's mini challenge, a photo shoot sponsored by Levi's. The queens had 30 minutes to customize Levi's denim and tees into Pride Perfect outfits, and customize them they did. I have to say that I really enjoy these mini challenges where the queens have to customize a look for a photo. They always make me laugh, and this mini challenge did not disappoint. Thirdly, first in front of the camera was Ginger Minge. My favorite part of her outfit was the Barbara Eden jewel on her belly button. Oh, happy belated birthday to Barbara Eden. She's 90, God bless her. Cheers, Babs. I don't know what was funnier, Ginger's outfit or Ru's reaction to it. Still, we got this photo from it, so it's not all bad. Kylie's looks screamed girls just want to have fun, which certainly made this Pride photo more festive. Next, in the more is more category, was Raja. Between her looks and moves, she could have stopped the biggest of Pride parades and It looked like she just about did in this picture. Seriously. Trinity's ensemble was probably the most tasteful, and by that I mean she had her legs and arms covered. The rest was all free for Jesus to look at, but those arms and legs were covered. She's so modest. Speaking of free for Jesus, Eureka was next, and, well, there weren't nothing you could tell her. Lord knows Ru tried. Still, it all made for one festive pride photo. When the camera stopped flashing, Ru announced that Kylie was the mini challenge winner and had snagged herself the entire inclusive pride line from Levi's for her trouble. Here's to Kylie. Seriously, this is delicious, by the way. Then it was time for the Maxi Challenge, the charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent monologues, which is basically just the vagina monologues, except ruder. I'm just saying. It was a storytelling challenge with the queens sharing a real-life moment from their drag careers. Right away, the queens got down to writing, but not without welcoming Eureka back into the fold. Everyone seemed genuinely pleased to see Eureka back, or at the very least, they weren't threatened by her. I mean, no challenge wins and already been eliminated once? Yeah, they weren't feeling too much stress. Eureka's plan to stay in the race? Well, to win the next challenge, which Ginger thought she was more than capable of doing, seeing as it was all about talking about herself. That statement seemed to push Trinity K. Bonet over the edge. I mean, Trinity worries about everything at the best of times, but with her 2 recent trips to the bottom and being there 3 times in total, her worrying went into overdrive. I'm so serious. Plus, let's just say it, she already bombed trying stand-up again in that first challenge, so her odds for this challenge weren't great. Now, I feel it's important at this point to talk about the difference between stand-up comedy and storytelling. The main difference is stand-up is supposed to make you laugh a lot. Storytelling is just supposed to entertain you whether you laugh or not. You can cover a lot of topics in a short time with stand-up and to hell with the segues, while storytelling is just that, storytelling. You usually stick to one topic or theme and there's almost always a point. That's not to say that comics can't be storytellers or vice versa. Confused yet? Well, welcome to my world, I'm just saying. And then the queens got the insane privilege of testing their material with the hilarious comic who tells great stories, Alec Mappa, and stand-up comic and the star of Coming to America, Jermaine Fowler. If you have not seen Coming to America, the sequel, first of all, what the hell is wrong with you? Second of all, Leslie Jones is in it, and she is a hoot as Jermaine's mother. I'm so serious. If that's not ringing any bells for you, then you might remember Jermaine as Miss Mimi Teapot on RuPaul's Secret Celebrity Drag Race. Why not? Raja was first, and can I just say you learn more from making mistakes than from being perfect. And no shade, but Raja learned a lot. The best thing was Jermaine saying that no one likes to watch someone read and told her that the best thing she could do was connect with the audience. And that's hard to do when you're reading from a book. That's why I don't like going to church. Kylie was next, and right away she pointed out to Alec that the first time she saw him was on her ill-fated Snatch Game appearance, where she ultimately was sent home. No pressure. Thankfully for Kylie, her rehearsal went better than Raja's. Both Alec and Jermaine were impressed with her story and her ability to tell it. Alec gave her a great note about putting her last line at the beginning to set up the journey she was going to take the audience on. Here's to Alec Mappa. It's a great note. Trinity was next, and Alec, loving her pants, must have put her in a great headspace because her rehearsal went well too. Her only advice came from Jermaine, who told her not to rush through her premises and her setups. Oh, the curse of the fast talker. I know it well. Ginger was next, and as expected, she killed her rehearsal. In fact, it went a little too well, so much so that Alec had to stop her early to tell Ginger it was sounding too pageanty, i.e. insincere. Alec didn't want it to sound like writing. It needs to sound natural, tripping off the tongue. I don't know why I did that. Last but not least was Eureka. She's another one who killed this rehearsal, and not because of the subject matter, although it helped, but because of her use of the word Puswacha, because, well, that was my drag queen name in high school. Both Alec and Jermaine gave Eureka great advice about finding the metaphor in her poop story, and also to find some synonyms for dropping the kids off at the pool. You ever pooped your pants? I don't know. I think about it a lot. These aren't going to help if I'm in a rush, I'm just saying. And then it was Elimination Day. Eureka was worrying about her story, but was able to remind herself that she's at her best when she's just doing her. Words to live by. Well, not that we should do Eureka. We need to do ourselves. And then if you have anything left, you give a big girl a call. Trinity wasn't making it any easier on herself, I'll tell you what. She was caught up in the fact that she and Eureka were the obvious choices to be picked for elimination, and even though Kylie tried to talk her off the ledge, you could see it wasn't helping. Maybe Eureka was sensing the same thing because she took a moment from getting ready to thank Trinity for all the flirting and attention that she was giving. Eureka actually got quite emotional as she admitted that, well, she doesn't often get that kind of attention and wanted Trinity to know how much it meant for her. I, for one, knew exactly what Eureka meant. Hell, I even got emotional. You know, it wouldn't kill you to flirt with me once or twice, I'm just saying. Seriously. As they were getting closer to showtime, all the queens reflected on the fact that this would be their last time voting for someone to leave the race, and, well, they wouldn't have to deal with that pressure anymore. Of course, there's only one episode left. And then it was runway time. Ru looked lovely in her blue and black polka dot victory rolls ensemble. Just saying. Joining Michelle and Carson at the judges' table this week was actor, writer, director, and the creator of Dear White People, Justin Simien. Up first, the charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent monologues, and kicking them off was Trinity K. Bonet. I thought Trinity's story about how her coming out about her status saving a fan's life was brilliant, and, well, she did a great job. I was impressed. Here's to Trinity. Seriously. Kylie's story about her first time in drag was brilliant. My only complaint was that she sat on a stool to tell it. It kind of made it a little too casual for me. Not that I didn't enjoy her story any less, but the energy certainly changed when she did stand up for a hot second there. But she sat back down again. I think she would have had more energy if she'd stood for the whole thing. Just me? Ginger's story about her father catching her wearing her mother's heels as a child was perfection, but it still came off a little too rehearsed for me. I felt like she didn't take Alec Mappa's advice far enough, but it was a fabulous story with a beautiful ending, so I totally forgave her. Well done, Ginger. There. Raja was next, and her tragic story about tucking with masking tape was fabulous, but right off the top, she lost her words, and you could tell. But she was a trooper and pulled it out of the fire right quick and had all the judges laughing through the rest of her bunny tail. I was impressed that she didn't let her stumble ruin her performance. Seriously. Eureka's story was next, and the first thing I need to say is, I have never seen her look so beautiful in my life. That bunny outfit, shut your face. As for her story, she did a great job. Her southern charm did a lot to sell her poopy tail, but I'll be honest, I didn't think she did the best. She wasn't the worst, but I thought Trinity stole the entire show. Seriously. And then it was time for the runway. Category is, oops, I did it again, fashionable fashion fails. Trinity was first, and all I have to say is, I have to make me some gloves like that. She looked stunning, and her fashion fail was a blown-out zipper fixed with safety pins. Needless to say, it was a Fingerdoo for me. Raja was next, and her fashion fail of being caught in a dressing room undressed was perfection. I was beyond impressed with this look and concept, so I had no problem giving her a Fingerdoo as well. Kylie's fashion fail seemed to be about ketchup and mustard stains on her uniform, but for me, the uniform was the bigger fashion fail. I'm so serious. Don't get me wrong, she looked good, but this was a finger don't for me. Ginger Minge's fashion fail seemed to be about DIY beauty. Her smoking curling iron and burn marks on her face and outfit were hilarious. Fingerdoo for Ginger. Last but not least was Eureka. I'm not sure what fashion fail her hair was making or why she was able to pull bits of it out, but having her dress tucked into her panties and toilet paper stuck on her heel totally worked for me. So I gave her a Fingerdoo. Toilet paper on her heel. Sensing a theme with Eureka. No wonder she's the gassiest. And then it was time for the judges' critiques. Up first, Trinity. For the most part, everyone loved her story, especially Justin Simeon, who appreciated the heartwarming twist at the end, while Carson had an issue with her timing. Hell, I had an issue with Carson. You know, sometimes I feel like he's being critical just to hear himself speak. Seriously. As for Trinity's runway, Michelle thought it was beautiful, but she wished her oops was more obvious. How more obvious could it have been to just see the size of those safety pins? Poke your eye out, kid. Raja was next, and even though Michelle enjoyed her story, she couldn't help but comment on her fumble off the top, which, I have to say, was my drag queen name in high school. Justin made a great point that the audience isn't there for the lines, they're there for the person, and he thought Raja was a superstar. He also thought her exposed leg in the runway look was an all-star. Ru loved it too and asked if Raja had made the outfit. Well, Raja pointed out that she's made everything she's worn down that runway all season. Here's to Raja. See what learning to sew can do for you, baby queens? I'm just saying. Next up was Kylie, who, as far as Carson was concerned, is a natural-born storyteller, although he had the same issue I did with her sitting through her set. Justin, on the other hand, loved that Kylie sat. He felt that it made him want to lean in to hear her and thought that was really powerful. Michelle thought Kylie's runway was fun, but would have liked to have seen some ketchup and mustard stains on her skin as well. Okay. Ginger was next, and Carson loved her runway, but did think her story was a little too polished. Justin admitted that the hardest thing is telling a story over and over again and making it sound fresh and new every time. Michelle just loved how magical Ginger's story was and wished every child had a mom like hers. There. Last was Eureka, and right off the top, Justin said she blew him away with her performance and loved how natural she was. Michelle was impressed with how beautiful Eureka was in her bunny outfit. Justin and Carson also loved her runway and the story it told. And then it was time for Ru to announce this week's winner. Surprise, surprise, it was Eureka, and if she was only going to win one challenge this season, this was the one to win. I'm so serious. Here's to Eureka. Good for her. Of course, this meant that the rest of the queens were up for elimination. Back in the Untucked Lounge, the queens all congratulated Eureka on being the first ever eliminated queen to come back and win a challenge. And then it got real. Who was voting for who? Raja was first up for a chat and hoped that Eureka saw her as the type of competition she'd want to compete against. And then she told Eureka that she thought Trinity was the one who had been in the bottom the most and should be the one to go home. She's a friend of hers, I'm just saying. Speaking of Trinity, back on the sofa, she was all up in her feels as she worried about being the one to get this week's chop, a point she reiterated with Eureka during their chat. I have to say that I'm glad that Eureka pointed out how defeated she felt Trinity had been all day, because at this point, they've almost all been in the bottom at least once. Except Ginger. Meanwhile, back on the sofa, Ginger, Kylie, and Raja pointed out to each other how fairly they'd been playing the game and how much they deserved to be in the finale, which made me feel that they were all going to vote for Trinity when the time came. As for her chat with Kylie, the only thing Eureka asked her was who she was going to vote for. Kylie said Trinity, much to Eureka's chagrin. Eureka shared her difficulty in choosing a name to Ginger and jokingly suggested that she should send Ginger home. Well, Ginger didn't think that was funny at all. I'm surprised she didn't shank Eureka right then and there. Don't get between Ginger and the crown is all I'm saying. After the queens had voted, they returned to the main stage where this week's lip-sync assassin was revealed to be none other than Jada Essence Hall, the winner of season 12. And the song they lip-synced to was Little Richard's Good Golly Miss Molly. I still don't know why. Not that it's a bad song, it's just not one I associate with a drag performance. Still, these two queens gave it their all. Eureka lightened the mood by donning a clown nose, which made as much sense to me as the Little Richard song, but she ditched it almost as quickly, and then the queens got down to it. For the most part, This wasn't a bad lip sync, but it wasn't great. Thank God Eureka had a costume change halfway through and some splits thrown in for good measure. I don't know what Jada was doing, but she sure wasn't giving Eureka a run for her money, I'm so serious. So, when the music died, I was surprised that Ruth said it was a tie. What did that mean? Well, it meant that if there were two names, both would be going home. You could practically hear the sweat from the queens dripping on the floor. I'm so serious. Jada went first and revealed the queens had voted for Trinity. Sadly, so did Eureka. Well, at least 3 of the bottom queens were relieved. Needless to say, it was an emotional farewell nonetheless. And as she pointed out, as she sashayed away, at least Trinity was a top 4 for a hot minute. Here's the Trinity, seriously. Well, what do you think? Should Trinity have gone home? Raja did do the worst during that challenge. What about Kylie? She's been doing all right, but in my opinion, she hasn't really been great. And did Eureka miss an opportunity to get rid of competition by not sending Ginger home? Speaking of the competition, who would you like to see take the crown? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And while you're there, don't forget to like this video if you did, subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and if you'd like to support this channel through PayPal, Redbubble, or Patreon, those links are down below in the description box. Until the finale next week, miss me! Mwah! Seriously, Mark. So much drama. I'm sorry that Trinity went home. I know she was in the bottom, but she was doing so well. I feel like if I was going by the challenge itself, Raja would have gone home because she didn't do the best. She stumbled, she had that flub off the top. No one else seemed to have that. And I don't know, no offense to Kylie, because I don't think she's done a bad job this season, but good grief. She really hasn't reinvented the wheel. Like there's not been a lot of big moments from Kylie. She's done well, her runways have been good, but so has everyone else's. I feel like Trinity had more highs and better runways than but still, could you imagine if she'd sent Ginger home? Oh, we'd all be, I don't know, I have to tell you, part of me would have liked to have seen that just for the drama. Which is odd, because I'm not that type of person. I don't like drama for drama's sake, but still. I mean, I love me some Ginger Minge, but... Now that would have been a face crack to dethrone Jan's face crack. Seriously. Coulda, woulda, shoulda.